the deep of this coronavirus thing, COVID-19 is changing the way we look at things and the way we relate with each other. In the country, a lot of efforts have been made by government. We salute the government of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta for what he has done. Further, we salute, and I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of many Kenyans, we salute Mutahi Kagwe, the Minister in charge of health. But we ask them to do more. I'm persuaded that if we do enough, we can escape the destruction that we are witnessing in places like Italy. But we must also be honest to ourselves and say that we do not have what Europe and America has. We do not have what China and Japan has. We do not have what South Korea has to fight this enemy. We therefore ought to borrow from the world the best that they have done, the best we can do in our circumstances. We have a fragile health system, and therefore the curative approach will be a challenge to us. And therefore our main hope lies in self-discipline, in washing our hands, in keeping social distance, in minimizing social interactions, and in government doing what it ought to do, some of which government has refused to do. It is sad that flies are still coming in from Italy. Don't tell me what part of Italy. We must ensure that we keep away this death. In his own words, Mutahi Kagwe said, these diseases, what we have so far, the 7 cases, are all imported. We must guard our boundaries. It must not be about business. It must not be about money. It cannot be about the goods that are coming into this country or the exports. It can't be that. No. Mutahi Kagwe and government, it cannot be that. If we say nobody's coming to Kenya, we tell Kenyans who are away, we give them 48 hours to come or 3 days to come. If they don't come, they stay where they are. We don't export, we don't import. We shall find a solution. The things we need from outside, we shall find a way of getting them. They will come. Those we must export, we shall export. But first we lock ourselves. Let's have a lockdown. I do not agree with those, including my friend Francis, who are saying that churches should continue. In fact, I advise churches and I ask government to come down on churches and mosques. Let us not have those kind of interactions. I ask my people from Western Kenya, the Luo and the Luya, let's bury our dead as quickly as we can. This is not a disease you are playing around with. I learned yesterday there was a full gathering for a funeral somewhere in Bunyala there. My relatives are there. My son and his wife went there. It was a full gathering. I salute Oparanya and Nyangongo for the efforts they are doing. But that is not enough. And therefore today, I urge the government to do what I think we should have done. Let us constitute a coronavirus response team. This response team must be headed by the military. Whenever I've said this on Twitter, people have attacked me. I do not mean a military takeover. I only mean the discipline and the seriousness required to fight this thing can only come if our armed forces are in charge. And unknown to many Kenyans who are attacking me and vilifying me, the army has resources. The army has the training in many of these civilian things we do. For example, unknown to many things, the military intelligence is more up there in the skies than even the NIS. And therefore, they can do these things in collaborations, of course, with experts and Mutahi Kagwe's team and the rest. But let them be in charge. Finally, I want to draw an example of what I think Kenyans should have listened to. On Thursday, on a TV program, Citizen TV, a program I think it is called Tonight by Yvonne Okwara, she brought in a a Kenyan lady, a Makobe or something like that, working in China with this UN outfit. I think it's a Mkisa Kitui outfit. She gave the story. She was in London. She was returning to Beijing, China. And when they landed in Beijing, it took 3 hours to clear them at the airport. When she got to her apartment, there's a surveillance managed by the people in that area, in the what you call like the court. In that surveillance, there are things you must do, including signing documents, committing yourself to remain in the house without leaving, and checking your temperature and stuff like that for the quarantine mandatory period of 14 days. After which, she was now going to report. There were also other things she needed to have done. The seriousness with which the Chinese do this thing has led to a situation where they have contained it, and in the last 2 or 3 days, there have not been any new cases. To the point where there are now more deaths in Italy. There are more deaths in Italy than there are in China. That's serious, as I'm saying, dear Kenyans, and my government, my president. I'm saying that seriousness we shall enforce, we shall have it when we allow the military to be in charge of this thing. And when we do not take measures, when we say people must keep away from certain places, we should not wait until this thing has happened. If we must close bars, if America can close those things, who are we to keep saying have measures that until Monday? And even that Monday, the bars and the clubs will operate up to 7:30. And we know what happens. They will be allowed to go beyond. And that's why I'm saying the seriousness we need. We are asking Matatu people to carry at almost 60% capacity. They are not doing it. But if the military was in charge, the measures we put in place to contain this pandemic, to save ourselves from death and destruction, the measures can be enforced if we have the disciplined forces in charge of this thing. And therefore, Mr. President, I urge you, Mr. President, Mr. President, and I want Kenyans to agree that when this happens, let us support the president when he brings in a coronavirus response team headed and managed by the disciplined forces.